Good evening, everybody. This is Gene Bailey, live from the RNC. Thank you for being here with us. We're live everywhere, FlashPoint. And I'm here with two friends. You know him, you love him. Mike Lindell, you can't sleep without him. And, of course, Lance Wallnau. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. This is not the best way to do television.
Well, it's kind of intimate, I'll say that. At least we're all sitting here with our knees touching.
Yeah, it's like doing a whole program in a single wide trailer.
In a closet.
But actually, a trailer would be larger than this. Yeah. More like a camper. We're in a camper. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right, enough of that. All right, so gentlemen, let's talk about what's happened today so far. Mike, we checked in with you earlier. Let me hear what's going on. What do you think about what you've seen and heard so far this week?
I think it's going to be a great uniting of not just the Republican Party, but the country, the people. I mean, Donald Trump's the greatest uniter in history, and it just keeps getting more and more and more. I've been just putting the word out. Of course, you know what I'm focused on.
Absolutely.
The plan to secure our elections. And I had CNN. It's interesting. I had the Washington Post follow me around the whole first day. Yesterday, CNN, and then the New York Times. They go, "Why are you doing that, Mike?" Check out today. The Washington Post did the article on me, and it's out there. I put it out everywhere. It was great. It was, because he tried to get sound bites all day, but all he could print was the truth, you know?
Right.
And it was beautiful. I mean, there was, I see a lot of these reporters that come up to me. I witnessed to them. I think a lot of them I make read my book and get witness going, hey, where did you go wrong? But I've had a really good time. I have not been over on the main floor yet.
Yeah,
I've been over there. I go through the crowd doing media hits over there where I've done overseas. What's interesting to me is I did London and all these countries that overseas their TV. And they're all, it's the whole world is watching everything.
That's true.
This is, everything. The miracle the other day when God saved our real president.
Right.
I mean, that was everyone around the world. It's like
how do you think they're handling the assassination? What's their take on it?
Overseas, I think they're relieved. They're relieved that it's, they know that the path the world would go down this dark path after I've talked to them. And I say, what I bring up to them, because they bring up the iconic picture with the flag. I said, oh no, you got to look at the one underneath where he's down there and God's touching him, telling him he's okay.
Yeah.
Remember, which what I'm talking about?
When he's on his,
just amazing.
Literally on his face.
And what really, the best thing I've seen here so far, when he came in after that, here, and you could tell the love. He got emotional over the love feeling from the whole world. That's what it was. You could just see it.
Absolutely.
For me, when I was landing in Texas, and I couldn't. All I got was a text saying, "Call me," and then from somebody, and then it said, Donald Trump's been shot, and I thought he was kidding. It was surreal.
Yeah.
As I land, this guy calls me up, and I didn't hardly know him. And he's bawling. He goes, "He got shot in the head." He's screaming. I thought he's dead, and I start instantly praying, and I'm lost a friend. That's what I felt.
Yeah, sure.
I was just with him for a whole day we spent together just a week ago, Then I'm looking at my phone and I see people texting me going, he put his arm up and said, "Fight, fight." It was like, whew, thank you, God.
I know, what a relief.
I mean, can you believe that he's the courage just to know that that's like the leader,
Absolutely. All right. What about you, Lance? You've been here, I guess your second day here this week. So
yes, sir.
What do you think?
Well, the goosebump moments, that's what I look for.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a spiritual radar. But there's moments, and I think Laura Trump, if we could get that clip and play it this week, when and they haven't played it in the secular media, but it's the part where she opened and said, let me just start by saying, when my father-in-law was shot, I had to run over and turn the TV off because the grandchildren who were just with their grandfather, I didn't want them seeing, because I didn't know what had happened. I did not want them to be traumatized seeing someone who... She said, when the verdict was given with the indictments and they found him guilty in New York, before he came down to address the press, the kids had come up with pictures they wanted to show him, and he blocked out the whole world and just focused on them and their pictures. That's the side of him as a human being, as a granddad, that any human can relate to, that the rest, we all deal with powdered substances in this family sent to our homes, death threats, the most vile statements in the world. But it hits you differently when you're protecting your children from that kind of hatred. That moment, to me, humanized when you look at our show last night, when we have clips of people in California saying, "Oh, it's all staged," Trump. Well, somebody got shot and killed. Yeah, that'd be just like him. Who cares about that? It's reality TV.
Right.
And I'm thinking, that's the wacky world. And what Laura did was she put any of us could relate to as grandparents. It's like, he's a human being, guys. He is not like, the Penguin, like I said last night from Batman. He's not the evil Hannibal Lecter you want to think he is.
All right, let me, that's just, we got 2 hours tonight. You don't want to miss a minute of it. We're going to go in and out of the arena, talk about what's happening. In fact, let's go over to Mike Garofalo now over in the main stage, the Fiserv Arena. Mike, tell us what's going on.
Hey, Gene. Nancy Mace is speaking right now. Congressman Brian Mast of Florida spoke first. She's talking right now. He's done speaking. Gene, out in front of this building, the Fiserv Forum a couple hours ago, we caught up with Harmeet Dillon. She's an attorney, a Republican Party official, and a GOP delegate from the state of California. We began by asking what she thought of Donald Trump's choice of Ohio Senator J.D. Vance to be his running mate.
I think he's terrific. I was at a fundraiser with David Sachs's home in San Francisco, where I live, and J.D. Vance was there, and I told him then he was my top choice for VP, so I couldn't be happier.
And what would you like to hear out of Donald Trump tomorrow night? And how big of a speech is this, given what happened in Pennsylvania over the weekend?
Look, I'm one of President Trump's lawyers. I love him. I've been a supporter of his since 2016, so he could say anything. I'm all in there. But for the rest of the country and the people we need to persuade, I think he needs to project unity in our country, coming together for the good of the country, putting the past behind and looking forward for our country, safety, security, lower taxes, economic well-being, and America first.
And what's your sense of this Republican National Convention? How is it going so far?
So this is my 4th Republican convention. I've been an RNC member for 3 of those. This is by far the most unified I've ever seen the Republican Party. There is literally no sunlight between any of us in our support of President Trump and our support of this country.
Nations like China.
Dylan went on to call President Trump an incredible leader who comes along once in a generation, perhaps even once in a lifetime. Gene, back to you.
Thanks, Mike. We're going to stay watching over there what's going on. What's the overall atmosphere? I mean, it started off with a bang like it normally does, but Mike, how is it over there now?
It's filling up. And there's excitement, Gene. I've been here for the last couple hours, and Donald Trump was in here a couple hours ago. He didn't say anything to anybody. He was on the stage. The lights were off, and I guess he was kind of checking the stage out, but he didn't do a mic check. He just kind of walked around a little bit, but the feeling here is one of excitement.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We'll check back in later. All right, of course, tonight is J.D. Vance is going to speak, so it'll be our first time to hear from him as the vice president pick. Mike, I didn't ask you. You haven't been on since this would happen. What do you think of J.D. Vance?
Well, I met him. I've I've met him many times, and I've talked to him one-on-one quite a bit. He was my top 2. I mean, of course, I'm such close friends with Ben Carson that if I had to weigh the 2, it'd be about equal, but I would go to Ben, but they only because of the friendship, right?
Right.
But J.D. Vance and the media's been drilling me on that. I said absolutely that would be my choice. That would jump in because Donald Trump takes it and he does the right thing. What I liked is he picked the guy that was best for the job, rather than pick someone to get more votes.
Oh, that's good.
And that's really important, I think. A lot of times they do that, and then you're stuck with he didn't go out and pick, let's get a woman, let's get this over here.
He didn't go with the profile.
Right, it didn't go with the profile. That's exactly right, because he doesn't need any more there, and he needs someone. And J.D. Vance has the country's back. He's smart. The guy is very smart, and I think he'll be great with what a vice president's role should be.
Yeah, we're showing right there B-roll of him meeting people when he first came out that first night. And Lance, I think you and I were talking about this. He has now become the guy who is really on the attack. We've seen that shift with President Trump being, of course, we don't know what he's going to say tonight, but he's been more withheld. Yeah. Of course, he's dealing with being shot. I mean, give him credit for that. But it seems to be this guy is not going to hold back.
No,
JD's been very, very vocal about the Ukrainian war and any war, pretty much. So, I mean, it's interesting to see this dynamic because you're almost seeing a grandfatherly figure from President Trump. Demeanor's changed. He's more serious, more somber, but still Donald Trump. And we see J.D. Vance, who's very much going for it, a little bit more of the wild dog, the bulldog, going for it. What do you think? True? Not true?
No, totally true. And the more I think about it, let me just submit this to you guys. I think that actually the pick in Trump's intuition has this in it. He's got, if people want to hit him and Biden for their age, and listen, Trump is a beautiful, vain man. I mean, he likes to constantly, that's why he thinks in terms of image. He thinks in terms of vibrant vitality. So he goes to the fights and stuff like that.
Right.
He's cognizant as an alpha male of the importance of projecting strength. But he knows his age is a factor, and Biden's age is a factor. By bringing in a young 38-year-old, he brings in what Vivek, they all said, would do. Get Vivek because he brings in the youth vote. He said, I got another young contender who already has governing experience. Better yet.
Well-educated. Yep.
He's well-educated. Better yet, he's ideologically on the same page with my MAGA doctrine. That means that I'm more concerned about long-term impact. Every president picks a VP based upon who's going to help him get elected.
That's exactly right.
Lyndon Johnson wasn't compatible with Kennedy. They hated each other.
Right.
But Johnson would get the South. Trump says, I'm not worried about that. I want someone who can carry the banner. If they take me down, where does MAGA go? J.D. Vance is the intellectual articulate of that doctrine. Secondly, there's only one demographic Trump actually lost votes in. From 2020, he picked up in the Hispanic. He picked up in the black community. He picked up in all these marginal areas. He actually went backwards in white working class males. So what did he do? That's Rust Belt working. Yeah. That's going to be Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. He said, where can I get youth, a MAGA guy who's articulate, agrees with me on foreign policy, who will bring out the vote in the only place I lost? J.D. Vance is the candidate for the forgotten American. His whole book, Hillbilly Elegy, is about how you gut the working class, you take manufacturing away, you kill American incentives for work, and you destroy a nation. We've got to get back on our feet. So he's the perfect candidate to actually get out the vote in the area Trump needs it.
Amen. All right, well, let's go to clip 7 here, guys. Hard truth from the Wisconsin voters. Watch.
Why would you be supporting Donald Trump?
For change. We've had Democratic control in Milwaukee for the last 65 years, and we haven't gotten anything. And so it's like, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. We have to do something different.
All right. They have to do something different. I mean, that's Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's not, like it or not, you typically see a black woman, you're thinking Democrat, because that's typically what the media shows us.
Tell you, man.
And so we're seeing this massive shift.
Absolutely.
Over to following a much more conservative look, a conservative president, because they see this. I mean, everything. Listen, they took the mug shot. They impeached him. That didn't work. They could indict him. That didn't work.
I even heard one black comedian on TikTok. He said, man, I wasn't even going to vote for Trump. When I saw him do that, black power. I said, this man's more black. He's got felony convictions. He's a baby daddy. I'm getting my vote.
Right on. Do you know, I've been doing this thing called flipping Democrats. These events I've had.
About that.
I did it in Chicago. And I had 5 of them there, right in the heart of Chicago. We only invited Democrats that had voted for Biden. There was about 400 or 500 that came in, and they were all switching, to Trump. They were all going to vote for Trump. So we're interviewing and stuff, and I'm going to actually make commercials out of this. But we're interviewing. Why are you switching? And whatever came out of their mouth, it was unreal. It was it was almost all the same, but one of the things that was really intriguing was the Hispanics. There were a lot of Hispanics and blacks there, and they all were saying the illegals, because they're pouring into Chicago, the illegals are taking not just their jobs by getting paid cash by illegal employers, cash, but we talked about addiction. I come from being a crack addict. I spent a lot of time in the inner city in Minneapolis. But we talked about they would go in for treatment.
I still can't imagine you as a crack addict being more Were you more hyper than you are now?
Well, cocaine was about the same. Crack, you tweak out windows. It's the opposite of what you would think. You're tweaking out. It's not a social drug. Crack and cocaine, two different things.
Thanks for that distinction.
Well, I just want to clear that up.
Things
we got to clear this up.
FlashPoint Army.
Any crack addict out there knows
cocaine is more social.
Well, because I own bars, so I knew when people started disappearing, it's because it was all the crack addicts. They're at home tweaking out windows and afraid to come out. There's always something out there. But anyway, what came up about all the addictions treatment centers and stuff in Chicago and stuff, filling up with illegals, all the resources being spent on them rather than helping the ones that are here legally and that need the help. And I'll tell you, it's so powerful. All these, there was like hundreds of answers that come out, the ones that want to be on camera, You're going, well, why are you switching? So many of them were common. Then you'd get some that, I can't afford. And a lot like her that said, you need a different input to get a different output. That's the biggest thing. When do you stop, digging and trying to get out of this? And especially when you can take all the big Democratic cities and go, gee, they're all the same. What's up with that? Why are they all the same? And I spent a lot of time in a lot of inner cities, Gene.
I
we'll
don't even know.
I
think talk about that off air. Yeah.
I think Donald Trump's penetration of the African American community is unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
Unprecedented.
Oh, it is, without a doubt.
Annabelle, my wife, she's like you. She's got this side to her that's, she's all philanthropic with my money, by the way, which is interesting. But she's philanthropic. So she's got 5 warehouses where she is furnishing single mothers apartments in Dallas and Fort Worth. If they're courageous enough to work and have children and there's no dad, she will fully furnish the apartment. So she's done 800 apartments, all off of people. So she's got warehouses where hotels now call her when they're going to liquidate and get rid of all their stuff. She just goes over and grabs it, and then she disperses it, right? Now I got these kids from the moms following me. So I got this diverse Hispanic and black. And I take them to an inner city church now, like about a couple of blocks near the hood. Right. And so I'm taking them there, and the moms take them there. And so we're in church, like 20, 25. It's small black Pentecostal church. And it's testimony time. And my wife has no sense whatsoever. I mean, this is what I love about her. That's why I married her, because she's so real. It's testimony time. She goes, I just want to say, praise God for saving my president, Donald Trump, from almost getting shot. God intervened and saved him. She's testifying this in a black church.
Right.
And I'm going, oh, my God, Annabelle, are you completely politically
Know the room.
Yeah, know the room. And the whole room erupts with applause. And the woman in front of us says, I'm telling you, this is an answer to prayer. The pastor says, I love that man. I love Trump. And they're all shouting.
Right.
And I go, well, that makes me the one that's totally ignorant.
That's exactly right.
I said, because and she just said, well, I'm just saying, I'm going to praise God anyway. Right. So my wife's telling me later on, she goes, why would I not praise God? God did that. And I thought, you're right.
Yep.
I'm the guy that's getting political. I'm getting political.
Lance, I say that right now. If you can't go out, if you're a pastor and evangelize and get people ministry and get people pulled into Jesus, and if you can't do that, or if you can't go out and even say, here, political-wise, and get people to Donald Trump, you got problems. You have all the tools in history to do both things.
So true.
You're right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about.
So silence. You become if you're silenced like that, then you become like a Fox News where your weather channel you can't report hurricanes or tornadoes.
Pray for me. Lay hands on me. Oh my God, deliver me.
Help, Lance.
What was I thinking? I'm coming out now. Coming out of the closet on the air right now.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't
coming out of the prayer closet.
There you go.
Stop it. You're the one talking about cocaine and crack, trying to get a distinction on your chemicals here.
Jesus help Lance. Jesus. Amen. All right, listen. Earlier this week, the Teamsters came out. Let me show you this tweet from the Teamsters. First time in 120 years, does anyone understand the significance of the Teamsters being at the RNC? 1.3 million members. They've always endorsed Democrats. And guess where they are? They were here at the RNC. Now, it kind of got, of course, you're not going to hear this on mainstream media. That's why you're watching us tonight. But this was a big deal.
Absolutely.
First time in 120 years they come over. And it's the Teamsters, it's, I mean,
come on. No, listen, the worst thing is the head of the Teamsters has asked the Democrats if they'll let him speak at their convention, and they still haven't got back to him. So he's on Neil Cavuto, and he goes, I got to tell you, the Democratic Party got an invitation, and they won't respond. Donald Trump said yes. All I'm going to say is Donald Trump is a smarter politician than the Democrats.
You know, I'm trying to get into the Democrat convention too. And
Oh
they
my
haven't responded
gosh.
to me. Seriously.
What a hoot! You go. If you go, I'll
All right.
close your.
All right, I gotta regain control. These guys. All right. Charlie Kirk had some interesting insights earlier. I want you to watch this. Right before the show, he had a chance to come by and I asked him rapid fire a few questions. Watch. All right, next up is a good friend of ours, FlashPoint, all through these years. Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Charlie.
Gene, you're a great American. You've always been so good to me.
Yeah, and you have it to us as well. All right, so Charlie, we haven't talked since obviously 7/13, the fateful day of the attempted assassination. You actually called this out. You didn't accuse anybody, but you posted something about that. This is one of you and Tucker, the only ones I think that have said this is what's next.
And we were repeatedly on the record on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we were talking today at lunch. This feels like only thing missing is the Zapruder film. We're getting so much misinformation, so much no good answers. What does that say to you?
It's a lot. I will say this. Thanks to social media, it's a lot harder for them to lie about this, and we're getting the truth a lot quicker.
Right.
Local police is already saying the Secret Service has been lying about key facts of this. By the way, as I'm talking right now, I was just checking my phone, more and more information is coming out. They had eyes on him 3 hours before.
Right.
They knew that he was a potential person of interest at least 2 hours before. He was on that roof for 20 to 30 minutes and spotted by law enforcement, and there was just no decision to do anything.
And the public.
Yeah. Not to mention, Gene, let's just go through some of the basic things that were missing. No drones. There are 9-year-olds in my neighborhood flying drones around.
Sure.
Okay, I can go to Walmart and get a drone.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. No helicopter support. Okay, that's expensive, but this is a former president. You got a counter sniper group on a roof that spotted him, and they did nothing. Not only that, they went off scope, which, again, I'm not an expert at this, but you're not supposed to do that at all.
No.
And they saw that there was activity on the roof well beforehand. And then finally, the one that is the most inexplicable, not a single person gets on the radio and says, get him off the stage now. If there is even a suspicion, I know a lot of Secret Service guys because I hung out with Don Jr. for a while. He's a dear friend. We'd travel the country while his father was president. I probably did 100 days on the road with Secret Service guys. I called them and I said, what is this? First of all, they are all so saddened for what this means for their work. I mean, they spent their life building, and it makes all Secret Service guys look bad. And there's some phenomenal guys there, and there's some not so phenomenal guys. And they said that is the inexplicable part of this. If there is even a slight problem, you pull the protectee off stage immediately. Better safe than sorry, right? Because your margin of error is nothing. And so this commotion is going on. People are screaming at the roof. And then, according to recent reports today, law enforcement got on a radio and said, hey, we have somebody on the roof, let Secret Service know. Somebody on the roof, let Secret Service know. Whether or not Secret Service had access to that radio or not, we don't know. But, Gene, I'm not trying to be the guy that goes looking for some sort of secret plot where there isn't one. But when I now isolate all of this, no drones, no helicopters, eyes on him 3 hours at a time, on a roof, he brought a ladder out of a car and a rifle in broad daylight. This was supposed to be protected by a post, and it's 120 yards out. Again, I'm not an expert, but how many roofs are there in Butler, Pennsylvania? 7? It's not Gotham City.
Yeah, I know. All right, but now I'm looking at your shirt, Never Surrender, and it's that shot that is really defined.
It's a Genesis 50-20 moment.
It is, absolutely.
Which is what the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good.
That's right.
Here.
But that shot should have never happened. If that had happened, the Secret Service should have had him down on the ground and rushed him out. He should have been able to stand up. And
this is the other part of this, which is that not only was the Secret Service not equipped to be able to protect him, they were not able to be strong enough to get him off stage. According to the protocols, you get him off stage in 5 seconds. They weren't even strong enough to be able to do it. Yep. And look, there are some wonderful female Secret Service agents, but this is the kicker. Female and male standards should be the same in law enforcement, and they're not. There's one set of criteria for female Secret Service and another set of criteria for male Secret Service. This is DEI that is jeopardizing the health and the safety of a former president, soon to be, God willing, the next president. And, I got in a lot of trouble by the media back in February when I made a comment about airline pilots and DEI. And I said effectively that when you have DEI, you're going to lower standards, and then you're going to wonder when you see a race of a person whether or not that person is competent. And airline pilots and surgeons really kind of hit home because like, oh, wow, I want the best airline pilot. I want the best surgeon.
Of course.
I should have added Secret Service agent.
Yes, you should have. But you didn't think you had to.
I didn't think I had to. And to your other point, Gene, I did an episode in March. I did 4 in April, 6 in May, and we did a couple in June. And then finally, end of June at our People's Convention, where I looked to the camera and I said, I'm very afraid they're going to imminently try to assassinate Donald Trump. That's all they have left. And then the media kept attacking me. Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson basically putting forth conspiracy theories that the president is going to be assassinated. One even said that Secret Service is the best in the world, that he's untouchable. And praise God that within 2 inches.
Yeah.
2 inches. And, some people are taking exception with, okay, that God has his hand on Donald Trump and all that. But let me at least make this argument and this contention. Maybe God did not want to see the Second American Civil War.
It's true.
And because that's what would have happened. And I don't say that lightly, Gene. I would have been a voice, by the way, trying to tell people not to be violent.
Of course.
I think I would have been very unsuccessful because you have tens of millions of people that would have watched in broad daylight the leader of the opposition movement, a man who served for 4 years and was leading in all the polls, have his brains blown out by the current occupant's government failing to protect him while they also tried to lock him in jail, convict him, impeach him twice. No, this country would have been volcanic. And it still can, by the way. The forces are going to try to take out Trump now to November. They're not done.
No, they're not done. All right, let's talk about November. Dems were quiet, obviously, after Saturday's events. More push. Adam Schiff pulls, tells him he needs to get out. Do you think he's out of there and they're going to put somebody else in?
It's tough to say, Gene. I don't make predictions on Democrat politics because I'm not a Democrat, and I don't understand how
Oh, that's well said, Charlie.
No, I mean that.
No, I know you do, but I'm going to use that line. That's a great line. Thank you.
So, but from the outside, what I know about Democrats, I'm learning every day. It's kind of like witnessing a tribe in the jungles of Amazon. I don't understand how these people work. I feel like a National Geographic reporter.
Right.
I go in and I'm trying to understand how they, because I know how Republican politics work really well. Really well. I don't understand how they work. But the Schiff thing especially is a Nancy Pelosi salvo. That's what this is. Nancy Pelosi runs the state of California like an iron fist. He's soon to be the new next U.S. Senator in California. I hope not. I hope Steve Garvey wins, but it's likely to be Adam Schiff. And he would not have spoken out if Queen Pelosi, the oligarch, would not have approved it. And Pelosi basically is now launching a series of attacks. I think that Adam Schiff was supposed to do this on Sunday. So hear me out here.
Yeah.
Because they just now pushed back the virtual roll call by a week.
Yeah.
So we're now seeing what was supposed to happen on Sunday, and Pelosi said, "Hold on, president just got shot. Bad timing. Don't do this. Wait. A couple days Republican convention. People are back in gear. So we're now seeing what was going to happen 72 hours prior."
Interesting. All right. So let's talk about RNC, this convention. A lot of different. Of course, the atmosphere is different, obviously, because of what had happened with President Trump. But there's a lot. I mean, we've had a lot of issues with the platform. Does that concern you?
No, and
explain why.
Let me, of course, make sure it's fair. I'm 100% pro-life. I'm an abortion abolitionist. So my life's work is about abolishing abortion in this country, okay? But we must look at the abortion fight as an incremental fight now, the same way we did with slavery. And incrementalism means you must understand that politics is the art of the possible. So two things must be simultaneously true. People who are in media and advocacy must be morally clear on this issue without giving an inch. Those people in political settings must understand the moral clarity and understand the issue while also doing things that are possible while using the system of government that we currently have.
Right.
And so when it comes to the life issue in particular, on the marriage stuff, that's more guilty by omission. I don't have as strong of opinions there, but I believe that firmly that marriage is one man or one woman. But let me talk on the abortion thing has gotten a majority of the chatter. Let's go to what the platform actually says. It says that we are a pro-life, pro-family party. Now, I would have liked to maybe have 2 or 3 more words added, and that we will fight for human dignity for all Americans. Born or unborn. I think that could have probably quelled some of this. And it wouldn't have even been a policy thing that would have made elections harder. I just think that would have maybe made it easier. However, President Trump was and is the most pro-life president in history.
Without a doubt.
And so all this yammering and this clamoring, people have calmed down and look at the actual record. Spoke of the March for Life, gave us Amy Coney Barrett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, repeal of Roe versus Wade, defunded Planned Parenthood. I mean, the wins were across the board. But we also have to be honest. Me being 100% pro-life, the country is not as pro-life as I am.
That's right.
We were unsuccessful in ballot measures in Montana, Kansas, and Kentucky, some of the reddest states in the country, to get pro-life laws in a ballot referendum. And so if you think that running on the purity of the issue that I espouse on campuses every day is politically tenable, you're fooling yourself. So then what is the prudent way of going forward? Because reason is a gift from God, as it says in Isaiah 1, let us reason together, is to then make the art of the possible, which is to bring it back to the states for now as we continue to build consensus, as we continue to try to change hearts and minds, still be very clear about what late-term abortion is, and then try to work through a multi-year, multi-decade incremental plan to try and end unjust suffering and murdering of the unborn.
Without a doubt. So, the people watching, that are concerned about this, I mean, I think most people would think, okay, that makes a lot of sense, what you just said. So, what do you see going into 25 that we have? How do we push forward? Because you're looking at 50 years or around that amount of time that this law, Roe v. Wade, was upheld.
Yes.
So, how are we going to shift that? What do people need to do to get that correct in their state?
First and foremost, we have to win the public opinion battle. That's what I do every day. That's why I think supporting FlashPoint and supporting Turning Point USA is so important. Nothing will happen legislatively till the majority of Americans hold this view.
Yeah.
And right now, a majority of Americans do not hold this view. A majority of Christians do not hold this view, Gene, okay?
Now, you're absolutely right.
I'm
That's
not
the scary
speculating,
part.
okay?
That's the scary part.
I saw this coming like a freight train. When I speak at churches, the golf applause I get when I say we repealed Roe versus Wade, it's not even, there's not enthusiasm for it.
No, there's none.
Because a lot of those women have had abortions and they deserve forgiveness and the grace and the blood of Jesus Christ. But there's a lot of guilt or nuance and personal preference. People really don't quite understand how that all fits together, if that makes sense. And so, yes, to kind of go back to your point, the audience is wondering, what do we do? You must be morally clear about it. You must build consensus. And before you are upset at Donald Trump or the platform committee or your politician, is your pastor speaking out on this?
Yeah, well,
that's where your accountability should start. And if your pastor is not speaking out on this, maybe you should hold your fire on politicians and hold your pastor accountable.
All right, so is that confirmed? All right, so we just hear now Joe Biden was said to have COVID. So
underlying medical condition.
Canceled his engagement in Vegas.
That vaccine has really been great.
yeah, it has. What Charlie was talking about is what we've run into. People not celebrating the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I don't know if you've run into this. You're like, wow, the pastor doesn't even, well, he's afraid he doesn't want to, these are true responses. I don't want to hurt those in my church that have had abortion. I understand that. That's why we pray for those people. You should be already helping them. I don't want to lose my Democratic base. Well, now you're going against the word here. Now you might as well say you're pro-abortion. So we've got our job. When I say we, I'm talking about those of us in the church. Call yourself a Christian. We've got a big job ahead of us. And that's why we've got to change the spiritual climate in America first before we're going to get what we want next. Your thoughts, Lance? I'll get you go first.
First thing I want to say is, I'm not going to mention any names because it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But there are Christian leaders that have done more damage to the church in the United States than any of the leftists could, because we trust the pulpits. And when those pulpits come out and say, don't get involved with the controversy of politics because in the kingdom, we're all about evangelism. We don't want to get involved with controversy. When you have leaders in the pulpits and networks and apostolic organizations that are in our charismatic circles that are not speaking up on the issues, they are more political than pastoral. Because what they're really doing is they're putting their finger to the wind and saying, I don't want to lose money, I don't want to lose people off of controversy. Well, be more prophetic and start preaching the word of God. In a short version, here's what happened. The left took life, the subject. They took marriage. They took immigration. They took fiscal responsibility. And instead of those being subjects with a biblical worldview that you could talk about in the pulpit, they pulled them over into the political arena.
Yeah.
Now, you feel like I can't get political. So they won't talk about abortion because it's political. They won't talk about, transgender issues because it's political. So the moment you put the political frame on it, the Christians in the pulpits found their excuse for not getting political. But it's cowardice, because all of these subjects you should be able to address as a Christian and present what a Christian worldview is. And don't get involved with the personalities. Don't even get involved with the parties. Just get involved with the platform that is righteous versus unrighteous.
That's true. And, Mike, I remember seeing some of the first things when you were starting really to come out pre-2016.
Yep.
And you were giving speeches, and at the end of it, you were saying, at the end, our end result is revival. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's right.
The My Pillow guy's preaching revival,
right?
And I'm like, wait, I'm not hearing that back here at these other churches. So that's a good thing. We do need that, but as we know, without the Reformation, it's scriptural. Revival is wonderful, but if we don't have the Reformation side, all we had was a good meeting. Right. So we have to change the culture. And to say that that's not scriptural is wrong. You take the scripture, so much scripture is absolutely related to government. A lot of direction in there about how to conduct yourself. Judges. Right.
The government shall be upon his shoulders.
That's right.
There's, what you're saying there, and what you're saying is, we got to start with the churches there, with this spiritual battle we're in of evil and good. There's a way to talk in the churches where you're not getting political, and you really are, in a way. Because here's what I tell everyone. I said, we're not, you don't see me, like I say, I don't sit there and badmouth Democrats, I don't badmouth Republicans, but I do badmouth the uniparty Republicans, because those are the ones that are blocking me. But what I'm saying here is this. If I always tell this to people, and I'll do my speeches, and I'll be in a group, and I'll say, you know what, when you see politicians, I don't care who they are, where they make decisions that don't help any people, I don't care if you're a liberal, conservative, a Republican, or Democrat. You got to look at that. What does it help? Any people? Then they have a hidden agenda, and it's a very evil agenda. So if you get people looking up there, then you can get them going down the transgender and all this other garbage. Because they're looking at what does that help?
Right.
Or what does it help when you open a border up and you're pouring in fentanyl, killing people? It doesn't help Democrat, doesn't help Republican, doesn't help liberals, conservatives. If it doesn't make sense, that it makes sense to them. They have a hidden agenda. Now, it could be all kinds of things, but when you have common denominators, when all of these people that I've come across that are involved in that, it all points to the same thing. You can't put your hand. It's just pure evil.
It is.
Because you could say, well, he's got a personal agenda. He's making money. It's all tied in together. This is what we're up against.
That's interesting.
That's what we're up against.
Well, it is what we're up against, and I'm just still amazed at how many people won't stand up. And I'm not even saying you have to stand up against a candidate. That's secondary. What's primary is stand up for what you already know in Scripture is accurate. This is the fault of the church in a lot of ways. We've stayed in our four walls and let the government guys go do government.
Right.
This goes back to you and your 7 mountains. We've given them that. That's on us. So now we have to play catch up, and we need to start. And we're doing that. We're starting to win, getting back involved in government. And of course, the left doesn't like it. They don't want you to take over a school board. They don't want you to be on the county commissioner or on the water board or the railroad.
By the way,
commission.
are the teachers' unions here?
I haven't found one, but that's a great example.
Yeah,
why isn't there an overwhelming conservative impact in the teachers' unions?
Yeah.
But we haven't. Culture is only going to reflect what's spoken in the pulpit, and if the pulpit hasn't been doing their job,
no, they have not.
Then that's just what we reap. Just like elections have consequences. When you don't preach the word, you're not going to get the right response, Lance. Right. I keep telling you.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. They had the union leader here, right? You mentioned that earlier. And what's funny about that is he's not admitting it, but the party, right? The unions are political. And so the big union bosses are Democrats because they're in bed with the Democrats, UAW and all that stuff. But the rank and file, hard hat, construction guy, you think that they're for the queering of America? You think they're for illegal immigration? Let me tell you something. The rank and file guys are so pro-Trump that he has no choice but to ask if he can speak here, because the last thing he wants to do is to have rebellion in the unions because they're against the members. So he's saying, well, you got a lot of people that are supporting the Republican Party. No, they're not. You got a lot of people supporting Trump because he talks the language of the working class American.
That's so true. All right, when we were talking earlier with Charlie, let me show you this quick clip. This is what was happening with Joe Biden right before that announcement.
Thank you all so much for your patience and understanding. Regrettably, I was just on the phone with President Biden, and he shared his deep disappointment at not being able to join us this afternoon. The president has been at many events, as we all know, and he just tested positive for COVID. So, of course, we understand that he needs to take the precautions that have been recommended, and he did not obviously want to put anybody at risk.
All right, so he's, of course, announces he wouldn't be there with COVID, and we don't like anybody having COVID. And we can go down the whole path of whether you got the shot or not. That's, at this point, is immaterial. But listen to what Governor DeSantis said last night about Joe Biden and what should happen next. Watch.
Current President of the United States lacks the capability to discharge the duties of his office. Our enemies do not confine their designs to between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. We need a commander-in-chief who can lead 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency. But let's be honest.
All right, so, and I wanted you to see that because here's the deal. What Ron DeSantis says encapsulates the whole issue. It's capability. This is, or supposed to be, the leader of the free world in that position. And his capacity to lead right now is obviously not where it should be. So this is why things have to change. So we got an information earlier today. They released that Joe Biden said he would step down if he became physically incapacitated.
Yeah,
that was this morning.
Sure.
This afternoon now, where that's circumstantial, but I am concerned for the man's life. Number one, what's going to happen to him? I don't want him as president, but I mean, it makes you wonder what's going on there. Are they working this out to go ahead and say goodbye? Now, earlier today, also, Adam Schiff says he pulls out. Says I'm not, and we talked about it there with Charlie. He's not supporting. That's a massive string that's been cut. That's this is not going the way they had hoped.
You know, Gene, it's like this. They have to do something. Because in order, we've done our extrapolation. Donald Trump wins this country by like 65%. That's the real numbers. If it was real, no machines, paper ballots. Right.
No rigging.
Okay, no rigging. Okay. Now, in order, so you got that. But when you steal an election, and you're that much in the real world of where you'd be this much ahead mathematically, you have to convince the public with fake polling, fake numbers, that this could, so they believe that it could happen. You can't put out something that it could be close, or that so in order to do that, nobody believes now in everything that's happened with Biden that it would even be close. So now you do this cheat, and I said this. I wanted to say this earlier. If they handed us China virus 2.0 in August, do you think we would all be wearing masks and we would be out in snowbanks eating it like in Minnesota, or telling us you could only have 8 people in your house? Nobody would put up with it like we did. A stolen election again, or these deviations we'll call them, no one's going to put up with them, especially when nobody could believe them anymore. This time you will demand No, we need to see.
We got to see that recount.
We got to see the recount.
Yeah.
Judges will say, let's look at something.
We better
based
listen.
on merit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we have going in. If we were going into this close in any way, evil overplayed his hand. Indictment number 1, 2, 3. Then every time he got indicted, I told the president, I said, you know what? You keep getting indicted, you're going to have more votes than voters like Pennsylvania. Because everybody, wouldn't believe me, you're just attacking it, and his polls go up. So this is really important.
Here's my take on this, and after predicting J.D. Vance, I get nervous about when we're actually being prophetic and when we're actually just winging it, because I think sometimes God talks to us, and it forms our opinions. We've said on FlashPoint on more than one occasion, what will happen is he will have to take a trip to the Mayo Clinic because of some kind of physical complication, and then courageously, for the sake of the country, bow out so that Kamala Harris can take on the banner and run with all the momentum of the potential for a Newsom or somebody being the VP pick to produce a new energy into the DNC gathering so that they don't have to fight out the floor vote on Biden confirmation. So this is happening almost like it was written by a scriptwriter. He has to step down, and the only point is, I'm just going to say it, you got the Alex Jones scenario out there. And listen, there's a lot of believers that think that we got to protect Donald Trump from our own people. Well, there's people that could equally say, who's to say that they wouldn't take out Joe Biden if he didn't voluntarily go out? So all of that is up there, which is why, from a position of faith, we're not naive. See, naivety would say, oh, don't even talk about that because that's not spiritual. Oh, no, we're going to discern what the devil might be doing and still veto it in the name of Jesus.
In the name of Jesus, right. All right. Let me get to this before we get to the top of the hour here. Spring of 1993, accusations came forward against Joe Biden from Tara Reade. Today, there was a press conference. She has defected to Russia. Let me show you this clip from Victory News, and they'll talk about that. Watch it.
In May of 2023, she appeared at a Russian state-run media press conference asking President Vladimir Putin for Russian citizenship, claiming her life was in danger because during Joe Biden's 2020 presidential race, Tara Reade came forward with some serious allegations.
In 1993, when I was in my 20s, while working for Joe Biden, I was sexually harassed by him and sexually assaulted. I did not go to the media at that time. Filed a report and went through protocol. Nothing was done. I was threatened. I lost my job and I lost my career.
Well, she's back in the USA and on Monday posted this update.
My lawyer is going to be filing a petition to get Merrick Garland to open the case for third-degree sexual assault again that Joe Biden committed against me in 1993 because there is no statute of limitations apparently in Washington, D.C.
Reade seems to be a woman on a mission, and her petition to open the investigation into her alleged sexual assault and its cover-up as of the time of this report already had almost 4,000 signatures. So Joe Biden has denied Reade's claim. And speaking of Joe Biden, Representative Adam Schiff, a California Democrat, has officially urged the president to bow out of the 2024 presidential race, citing, quote, serious concerns about whether the president can defeat Donald Trump.
All right. So I wanted you, of course, that's newsworthy. You need to see that. Now, she sat down and did this press conference with Maria Butina, who was kicked out of the United States several years back for spying, Russia spy. That's a whole nother story. I reached out to Maria Butina. I have her cell phone. She refused to respond. In light of all of this, the timing just seems suspect. Why now, Lance? Why now does she return back to the United States? She's been in Russia. Now it's just, you're seeing all of these things come together. Schiff pulls, tells him he needs to step down. Pelosi, she's saying, I think he needs to do what he wants to do. Well, in other words, step down. There's a whole lot of stuff happening. I mean, the pressure is immense, and now he has COVID.
I'm just a little slow today. So you're saying it seems as though somebody might have, it's kind of like leaving the roof open there where Trump's rally. Somebody opened the door and said, why don't you come back now? And
well, it's newsworthy now.
The accusation.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the Democrats actually want to pile on and say, here's a lot of reasons
100%.
why you need to step down, Joe.
100%.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And earlier this week we talked with Floyd Brown, Western Journal. Floyd said, I asked him the question, is he going to step down or is he just going to ride it out to November? He said, well, the Democrat Party has an issue on their hands. They know after Saturday you're not going to win. You're not going to be able to pull this out against Donald Trump. So do you really want to put somebody in a race that they're going to lose? So do you really want to trot out who you think is your next racehorse in a position where he's going to lose? Or do you just let Joe ride it out? Or option 3, do you let Kamala come in, do the 25th Amendment, and suddenly Joe's out or he's sick and he resigns, and then Kamala's got a few months to be president and be able to say that she's the first female president. All of these things are very possible. What do you think, Mike?
I looked when I watched the debate, and I didn't watch Fox or anything after. I watched CNN afterwards. And when I seen Anderson Cooper go after Kamala Harris and go, no, I'm talking about the debate. And Kamala Harris was sticking up for Biden, saying, oh, is he this way all the time? And she goes, oh, no. And she goes, well, look at this debate. And Anderson Cooper, like when he attacked me way back when in 2019, it was like him attacking me, only he's attacking her going, no, look at this guy. This is Anderson Cooper. And if you went all the left channels, you looked at them all. They all had the same thing.
I did the same thing.
None of them were talking about bashing Trump or anything. It was all bashing Biden. And they weren't even talking about Trump. But evil overplayed his hand there, and I'm going to tell you why. I always look at the marketing part of it. I told the real president this too. He did such a great job getting the thing out, like, the blacks and Hispanics, the illegals are taking their jobs. You're going to hear about it, right? And stuff like that in his answers. Well, evil thought, we're going to show Biden how bad he is. And then they were hoping also that Donald Trump kicked him like a puppy, because of his problems with his mental state, and he didn't do that.
Right.
The best line of the whole night was when he said, "I don't understand what you just said," because none of us did. It was, and he said it from the heart. He wasn't.
I don't even think you know what you just said.
No, right. No, but he wasn't muck. He said it. We all go, what did he just say, right? So it backfired because he did such a good job. One of his best debates, I thought, ever. And he did such a good job. And even another thing you can look at, too, the moderators were probably the best two I've ever seen as far as fairness. It was unreal.
Yeah.
But
surprising.
So what happened there, he gained votes. Donald Trump gained votes.
Yeah, he did.
But huge. And not just I'd say on the left and the independents and the Democrats during that debate than over here. They're already in his bucket. Right. And they thought that, hey, we're going to make Trump look bad by going after his incompetence, whatever. And Biden, everyone will want Biden out. Because you can't have every news station the left put the same narrative out unless they were directed to do it. Some of them would have said, just because they're a Democrat and they're on the left, they would have somehow twisted it like, Joe did a good job, he beat Trump. Right. But it was so far off of that. And so they got it. I think it was directed by someone, I won't name no names, but Obama got, all right, everybody, we're going to, we're all going to say the same thing.
And ironically, and then Obama would tweet out, no, we're going to stand with Joe. So it's kind of like the generals that are going to kill Caesar have to be above reproach. So it's like, we all love Caesar. And then go, did you get him? We love Caesar.
That's exactly right.
But here's what I would say regarding Floyd's premise. He's like a mentor to me in a lot of this. But I would say to Floyd, I'm going to have dinner with him tonight and tell him, I've never seen the Democrats ever capable of relinquishing power. It's not like they're going to say, well, we've lost this one, so let's just let it go. They, till the last minute,
that's true,
will employ. It's like you're dealing with, it's like dealing with a criminal situation. It's not like they're going to say, well, Robert's Rules of Order, I guess they've got to give it to Trump. They're going to figure out a way to take it, which is why we can't get complacent.
Right.
We have to do election integrity. We have to do get out the vote. We have to do every single. It's still going to be a battle of inches. If you don't have that mentality,
thank you
then
for saying
you're not going to see a victory. You have to think about this as though they're not easily going to give up.
No, they're not. And this is why LindellPlan.com is so important.
LindellPlan.com.
So
everybody request your mail-in ballot. Take it. Don't open it. When you go in to vote and they say you voted, you say, no, I haven't. That's identity theft. It's an angle we haven't taken before. Look at that DA in Texas, district attorney in Texas, 3 months ago, she went in to vote and they said, you already voted. She goes, no, I haven't. You know, but she didn't have her ballot to show, but she had a platform.
Right.
You know what they ended up saying? Oh, it was just a programming error, just an error. They never got to the bottom of it, how it happened.
But we've got people are starting to be out of their positions because of some of this stuff.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to take a break at the top of here in about another minute. Who's up to speak coming up, Jason? Oh, Governor Abbott. We're going to go to the floor and hear Governor Abbott right after we take a break. By all means, listen, share this video on all your social media. Share this no matter where you're watching. Share this. Let's get the word out about what's going on here at the RNC. There will be some history-making speeches tonight, including J.D. Vance a little bit later on. And then tomorrow night, we'll see President Trump take the stage. And that should be a record-breaking night for people tuning in to hear what he has to say. Lance, this is it's staggering the amount of news. I mean, we could just sit here and go live all day long because it seems like by the hour, like, oh, look, there's something else happening. Yeah. So these are strenuous times if you're not rooted and grounded in who you are as a believer. So let me pray real quick before we take a break. Father, I just thank you in Jesus' name that every negative, opportunistic devil that's trying to do something against this nation from evil's standpoint is vanquished in the name of Jesus. We take authority over that. We prayers of justice, we call them forth in Jesus' name. Justice in this situation. We pray for healing in their bodies, whoever, if Joe Biden has COVID, that he's healed in the name of Jesus.
Mercy.
And we just thank you, Father, for it in Jesus' name and mercy. All right, so listen, we're going to talk so much more. Remember, Fort Worth meeting's coming up July 28th, right there at the Fort Worth Convention Center. I want to see you there. Go to 2024flashpoint.live, get your reservation in. It's going to be a lot of great stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with more from the RNC.
Due to the overwhelming response, the FlashPoint Live Rescue America Tour is moving to the Fort Worth Convention Center Ballroom on Sunday, July 28th. Join Gene Bailey, Hank Kuhneman, Dutch Sheets, Lou Engle, and Jenny Donnelly for a rallying time of teaching and so much more. You do not want to miss this event. Join us on July 28th at the Fort Worth Convention Center Ballroom. Register today at 2024flashpoint.live.
It's breathtaking. A tsunami of darkness threatens to wash away all we hold dear if we don't act now. In Killing America, Turning the Tide on the Tsunami of Darkness, Gene and Terry Bailey bring hope, help, and chart a course that leads to America's restoration and renewal. Don't wait. Get your copy at killingamericabook.com and counter the tsunami of darkness with a deluge of everlasting light.
The first thing about prayer or any other part of the Christian life is that God loves you. Settle that.
You see yourself sad, sick, broke, busted, and we're going to struggle. No, I see myself blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed going in, blessed going out. Greater is he was in me than he was in the world.
Join us at the Southwest Believers Convention in Fort Worth, Texas, July 29th through August 3rd. Register at kcm.org/SWBC today.
Tonight's Eagle Mountain International Church service will not be seen at its regular time in order to bring you a special presentation of FlashPoint Live at the Republican National Convention. But you can watch tonight's service live when you visit EMIC.tv.
And welcome back to the RNC. We're live Flashpoint Victory News special presentation here on the Victory Channel. Listen, I want to mention, if you saw that break, what we were talking about before is the Fort Worth meeting for Flashpoint. It's just Sunday night, July 28th, 6 p.m., right there at the Convention Center, downtown Fort Worth, the ballroom. And then Monday morning, Southwest Believers Convention starts all week long. You saw the speakers. You can find out more if you go to kcm.org and get all the information. But if you want to register for what we're doing Sunday night, go to 2024 flashpoint.live. You also saw in the break the promo for the book Killing America. We didn't know how accurate that book would be when Terry and I wrote it, but we see exactly what's playing out in front of us. The good part is, the good news is, we can stand up. She's not down yet. She's not down yet. And so there you go. You can go to killingamericabook.com or dial 877-281-6297 and get your copy of the book right away. And that helps. Thank you for doing that. It helps us with Flashpoint. Helps take care of expenses here as well. And if you get the book, go write us a good review on Amazon. And if you don't like the book, then write a bad review on lancewallnell.com.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm just here to be a blessing.
Always are.
All right, so we're going to go to over to the convention center. Are we ready to go over there? Not yet? Okay, running a little behind. All right, so they're running a little behind, but we'll go there. I want you to hear, of our governor there from Texas.
Governor Abbott.
Yes, thank you. I went blank there. Governor somebody.
Governor Abbott.
Governor Abbott. It's too many names this week. All right, so Mike, I think the public needs to hear. Our Flashpoint Army loves you. You know they love you. They always love you. How is MyPillow? We'll fill some time here. How is MyPillow doing?
It's been the biggest attack it's ever had, and it seems like it never lets up. It's been a needed distraction. I've had to keep the mothership right while they keep trying to blow it full of holes. The latest one that came out, Mike Lindell is getting evicted again. That was last month, and we had two different landlords. New landlord came on, and this was on June 1st, so the payment went to the wrong place. So the media grabs that. Star and Tribune, worst paper. I told them it's the worst paper in the country. But we keep getting attacked. We still have the lawsuits going on against MyPillow, my employee-owned company. And I know it's only by, God's grace. There's no company that could have withstood what I believe are the biggest attacks on any individual company in world history. And what people need to know is, you think they're attacking me, that they've turned it up this last 6 months because I want to overturn the 2020 election, like I was just on Young Turks and talking to CNN. I go, you guys, I'm getting attacked because why? Because I want to go to paper ballots hand counted and get rid of the computers and like other countries. And that's it. And they think if they just destroy MyPillow that I would stop talking. Well, that's not happening. But they keep doing it because
I can never imagine you stop talking.
but it's such a distraction because I'd like to be here focused on the plan to secure our election. Instead, I've got to be over here. We're doing all kinds of things. We got a new commercial out for a bed topper that just launched this week, but I had to go back for a whole week make this commercial. And by the way, it's awesome. It's MyPillow's patent and foam, the queen size. 1,400 individual comfort supports. The king size, 17,000 of them. $99.98 for the queen. You can't beat that. $119.98 for the king. Promo code Flashpoint.
You're going to get that, right, Lance? You're going to get one?
Yeah, you got to get one.
Do you sleep?
Well, actually,
you're not ever.
I have my pillow at my studio.
Yes.
So what I'll do is before I come on Flashpoint,
you'll take a nap?
I will actually be getting my revelations with Mike's pillow under my head in the back office. I got a little cot. I flop down. I throw it there. It's
there it is. Yeah.
It's the Patriot one with you and the flag.
Right.
It's that little one's hilarious. I stick it under my head. Give me 10 minutes, and then boom, I'm ready to come out.
God
that does explain a lot.
God feeds ideas.
It's ironic, isn't it, that the pillow is part of the Great Awakening.
And last week we sold our 83 millionth pillow. 83 million MyPillows. That's incredible.
That's crazy.
I have to say the slippers, though, are I think the underappreciated asset that you've got in your inventory.
All right.
I wear those slippers.
All right. Before I get in trouble anymore than what we're doing, let me show you this quick recap of what happened from last night. Watch.
I have always been proud to stand with President Trump, but never have I been more proud than to stand with him right now, tonight. Not even an assassin's bullet could stop him.
Let us go forward together and keep our sacred oath to defend the Constitution and to protect the American people.
We need a commander-in-chief who can lead 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency.
The most repeated phrase in the Bible is this: do not be afraid. A reminder to live each day with faith, hope, and joy as joyful warriors for Christ.
Americans are a people as diverse as humanity itself, but out of many, we are one because we are all descendants of ordinary people who achieved extraordinary things.
Trump has shown us anything, it's that when it feels impossible to keep going, those are the times we must keep going.
All right, that's just a quick recap. Let's go over to the arena right now. Governor Abbott is actually taking the stage. Take it away, guys.
Yep. Gene, let's go straight. Let's go to Governor Greg Abbott. He's talking right now.
Needs a president who will secure our border. America needs Donald J. Trump. The president's most sacred duty is to secure our country. Donald Trump fulfilled that duty by eliminating illegal immigration. Under President Trump, we had the lowest illegal border crossings in about 4 decades. By contrast, however, Joe Biden deserted his duty. On his first day in office, he gutted President Trump's policies. And the result has been catastrophic. Under Joe Biden, illegal immigration has skyrocketed. Under his watch, around 11 million immigrants have crossed our border illegally. That's more than the entire population of Michigan. It's twice the population of Wisconsin. Biden has welcomed into our country rapists, murderers, even terrorists. And the price that we have paid has been deadly. Among the many victims was 12-year-old Jocelyn from Houston, Texas. Raped.
Of course, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is speaking right now. But before that, let me give you a quick recap. We had Peter Navarro, the former Trump administration official who went behind bars because of being held in contempt of Congress. He came out here, Gene, to a standing ovation. He also said they did not break him. They will not break Donald Trump. And also, Tom Homan, the former Border Patrol chief, spoke out. He said Joe Biden is the first president in American history to come in and unsecure the border. Gene.
You know, the border is continuing to be an issue here, not just for Republicans, but nationwide. Mike, if Mike is still there, are you hearing from the floor, is that a continuing topic, immigration, border?
Yes, without question. It keeps coming up, crime and the border, and they really go hand in hand, as we know.
Absolutely.
Every state around this country is now a border state.
That's true. And Texas is obviously one. Thank you, Mike. We'll come back to you in a bit. You know, this has been something. He talked about the fact that Peter Navarro took the stage. I think we're going to show this interview right now, guys. Peter Navarro was on FlashPoint right the night before he had to go report. And then we were one of the first, if not the first, that he stopped to do an interview the day about what had just happened. So let me show you this real quick. This is Peter Navarro, fresh out of prison. Watch. Peter Navarro with us, fresh out of being behind bars. Good to see you, sir.
So pleased to be with you again.
Yeah. So we were talking to you right before you went in. First off, you look great. How was your time?
I'll talk about that next week. What I'm here to do really tonight, give a speech about the weaponization of our injustice system. I think it's important. I did walk out of prison in Miami this morning. I'm here in Milwaukee. And the message really is a simple one. If we don't control our government, their government's going to control us.
Right.
And the texture there is if we don't control all three branches of our government, legislative, executive, and judicial, their government will put some of us in prison, like me and Steve Bannon.
Right.
And control the rest of us. And if you think about how I wound up in prison, it did involve all three branches of our government controlled by Democrats. Democrat majority House of Representatives voted to hold me in contempt. It was Pelosi and company.
Right.
And look, I said, no, I'm not going to testify because of executive privilege. And they really had only one goal. They wanted to stop Donald Trump from being president, get indicted and prosecuted. Department of Justice, right? Merrick Garland, Democrat. Now think about this. For 50 years, the Department of Justice policy was and is, if a senior presidential advisor like me gets a subpoena, my job, my duty, is to tell Congress to go pound sand.
Yeah.
Okay? Because of executive privilege and the constitutional separation of powers. And then, of course, I go to a D.C. courtroom. There's an Obama appointee judge, Ahmed Maida. Ahmed Maida. Remember that name, because he's gonna stick it to Donald Trump in another context soon. Strip me of every single defense, just like Judge Juan Marchand did to Donald Trump.
Right.
In Manhattan. And they send me, just like Trump, it's like in Manhattan, right? The jury pool, they're all Biden voters.
Yeah.
Same thing in D.C. It's like that wasn't communist China or a banana republic. That happened right here in this country. And so what I'm trying to do with the speech is to just have people better understand what the stakes are. If you let them, those folks who don't believe in anything we believe in, control the branches of government, bad things will happen. It puts you, Trump's America, you didn't have to look over your shoulder for the Federal Bureau of Intimidation when you spoke up at a school board or kneeled down in church without a Fauci mask. You didn't have to do that.
Right.
The other thing I got, I'm here, is this book came out. It's the new MAGA deal, newmagadeal.com. It's Don Jr.'s publishing house. Here, take a look at this. What's interesting about this, you got President Trump, Navarro here, Steve Bannon, right? Navarro and Bannon go to prison for standing up for this country, and they're taking shots, no longer figurative, now literal, at Donald Trump. Why? Because what Make America Great Again stands for is the most traditional form of American government that is. Strong manufacturing base, secure border, and endless wars. So this new MAGA deal book between now and November for me is going to be essentially a defensive weapon to prevent the Bidenites from describing us as anything other than mainstream America.
Your quote on the back of the book here is from President Trump. Peter Navarro had strong views on protecting our economy against the assault of foreign countries all over the world. He was an absolute master at not allowing the U.S. to get ripped off by this onslaught. He did his job well. He did it faithfully. He loved our country. This book should be studied. What he says should be highly respected. Peter Navarro is a patriot who's been treated very badly, but he continues forward. In the end, there will be victory. That's quite an endorsement. Peter, with the weaponization of all three branches, like you so adeptly just described, a Trump re-election is the first step. What's the next step to getting that changed?
The weaponization?
Right.
Accountability.
So how do we change that accountability is what I'm getting to.
Well, look, one of the Democrat talking points is, oh, they want retribution. It's like, no. It's not about revenge or retribution. What's going on now is a systematic coup d'etat of our justice system.
Right.
Which is now being used to punish and silence political rivals. They got Trump tied up in knots in 4 different courts. They're stealing his money. They're stealing his time, thinking that somehow they can prevent him from campaigning and funding his thing. They put advisors like me and Steve Bannon in prison to shut us up. They took the bar cards away from Jeff Clark and John Eastman, 2 great patriots. They're trying to bankrupt Rudy and Mark Meadows and everybody who was involved in the Trump administration, all my friends and colleagues. Sure. I mean, what is that about? I mean, we were part of one of the greatest administrations in American history. I mean, think about it. Borders were secure. Communist China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, they left us alone, and the rest of the world alone. 0 inflation, strong economic growth. None of this culture war stuff. I mean, like K through 12 students being groomed and indoctrinated right now. It's like insane.
It is insane.
So, this is the election, and for me, it's going to be Judgment Day for all of these people, and they have names. We know who they are.
Right.
Garland, Smith, Bragg, Willis, Marchand, Maida. If we don't hold them accountable when we take control of our government, and when I say we, I don't mean the Republicans, I mean the people.
Right.
If we don't hold them accountable and they take control back, they'll just do it again. Sure. That's what we got to stop them from doing. We got to stop them from doing it again. I went to prison, so you won't have to.
Sure.
People need to look at what happened to me in this country, and they got to shake their heads.
Oh,
I just did my duty in defense of the Constitution, and they did every possible thing to put me behind bars sooner than they should have even done, because they wouldn't even let me be out before my appeal could be heard, which I will win.
Yeah, I believe you will too. So Trump's, what should be his first thing he should do in office? You know, aside from drill baby drill and all this stuff, when it comes to changing this, what should be his first steps?
Well, new MAGA deal, 100 actions in 100 days. And he's going to have all this stuff queued up. I've been there before in the first administration. The time between the day after the election and Inauguration Day is when you get all of the executive orders written. And he'll sign 100 of those on the first day in office. He'll just be sitting there signing stuff. And it's every chapter in this book, after you get through the kind of broader discussion of what MAGA is, talks about what we're going to do on inflation, everything from inflation to transgender destruction of women's sports and everything in between.
Right.
So, I mean, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Not our first rodeo for a couple of cliches there. My point is that he'll hit the ground running, and it'll be, in the words of Steve Bannon, action, action, action.
And we're believing that Johnson Amendment will be tossed out, one of those executive orders, those first days.
I imagine that we will treat much of what Joe Biden did in terms of the executive orders as roughly as they treated ours. The difference will be is like when they got rid of, for example, the beautiful executive order on the border.
Right.
One order.
Yep.
I was there when we conceived that. Trump, brilliant idea. We gave him the support he needed. We solved that border crisis like that. Safe third nations, Mexico first, then the Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Nothing. Joe Biden canceled that, and
here they come.
And by the way, J.D. Vance, I love that choice.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you that. So why do you love that choice?
Well, let me contrast it first.
All right.
With Kamala Harris. This is my test for every host and reporter. Do you remember what the only significant task Kamala Harris was given in her entire 4 years?
All I remember is the borders are.
That's the borders are, right?
Yeah.
She went down there, stuck her nose in the air, sniffed that stench coming across the Rio Grande, said, not my job, not going to be the fall girl for that. Went home, proselytized all her woke stuff, and 8 million illiterate illegal aliens with murderers, rapists, drug cartels, sex traffickers, Islamic terrorists, and communist Chinese spies coming in, by the way.
Right.
That's on her. If Donald Trump had been there and told J.D. Vance to go down, secure the border, that border would have been secured.
Absolutely.
That's the difference between J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris.
So, last Saturday, of course, assassination attempt.
Yes.
Where were you when that happened?
I was in prison.
Well, I mean, were you in your room? Where were you?
You know, I was in for 120 days. That was the worst day of my prison experience. I was, there's a room, it's a combination rec room, TV room, and computer room.
Right.
And I was working on my speech.
Yep.
For this convention. Looked up, and I saw the president do this. I couldn't hear anything because you have to have earphones on. I watched the whole thing, and I've been to so many rallies. I'm thinking first, what the hell is he doing in that little bandbox? Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, why is there a big stand of trees behind him where snipers could be? Number three, what's going on with all those rooftops?
Yeah.
There.
Sure.
Number four, when he turns and I see the blood, I go, he got shot. And some of the commentators apparently didn't pick up on that for 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, we were hearing, it may be the glass from the...
I knew exactly what happened.
Teleprompter glass, yeah.
Sometimes it's better to watch a football game, or in this case, an assassination attempt, without the noise of these fools.
Right.
I mean, I've been there. First rule, clear the rooftops. Second rule, if somebody says there's a possible gunman around, you get the president off the stage. Kind of makes you wonder about what the Secret Service, because I've seen those. I don't trust the FBI. They put me in leg irons. I don't trust the Secret Service. I don't trust the intelligence community. And they put him in harm's way. And I don't think that was by accident.
Was there any, in your opinion, is there any possible reason that there should not have been a Secret Service agent on that rooftop?
No, and they should have cleared the rooftop at a minimum.
Sure.
Okay? That's what you do. You clear the rooftops and you make sure they stay clear.
Right.
But that rooftop was so close and accessible that they should have had an agent up there.
Yeah. Should the Secret Service director step down?
Of course. Look, I mean, the Secret Service director is telling agents not to wear red ties here. I mean, how woke is that?
Yeah, really.
I mean, come on.
I hadn't heard that one. Yeah,
These people, they're incompetent. Mayorkas at the border, Kamala Harris as vice president, Merrick Garland as attorney general. He got me behind bars, but he had a lot of help from a lot of people. But look at how his case against Trump's unraveling. I mean,
definitely.
They're just not competent. This is a great country, and it's being flushed down the toilet by incompetent, dangerous people.
Right.
So, my tagline at the end of the speech tonight, I went to prison so you won't have to. I'm your wake-up call.
Well.
And I hope people will wake up.
I do too. And thank you. I'm sorry you went to prison.
No worries.
But thank you for going for us. And we're behind you. We got to keep this message loud and clear. All right, so the book is newmagadeal.com?
Newmagadeal.com, and it's Don Jr.'s publishing firm. And I tell you 100 actions in 100 days. And if you want to find out what the Trump platform is, go grab this and then give it away to a friend and proselytize.
Yeah. All right.
All right, my brother.
Thank you, Peter. FlashPoint Army, go get the book. Thank you for doing that.
All right, man.
Had to, yep.
Yeah, Peter Navarro. I mean, what a guy! I'm talking about a patriot.
Yeah,
had to go pay the price for something that he should never have had to go to prison.
Right,
for.
that's right.
Now, and understand, he talked about, as you heard in the clip, the weaponization of all three branches of government, but he was, of course, spending the most time on FBI, CIA, the DOJ. So, with this is one of those things, and he didn't. I don't think he wanted to go too strong on his first day out. But there has to be something almost immediately from President Trump when he gets out on that first day. Now, we talked about all the executive orders he's going to do. One of which that we're believing that he'll sign back in was the getting rid of the Johnson Amendment, which is really anti-Constitution. But anyway, another story there.
Right.
The idea here is that we really do have, and now all of this mystery surrounding the Secret Service. What? And we're not saying somebody did wrong, and there are good people there too. But
no.
Something happened. Something's not right.
Let's be honest about it. 50 heads of the intelligence agencies, CIA, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, etc., all signed off that the laptop was suspect as Russian. And what does it tell you? Let's not forget all these things. We've got to connect the dots. These three-letter agencies are all corrupted, and we don't know how many layers deep it is, but we know at the top layer, like in the Pentagon, your appointments there, ever since the don't ask, don't tell era of Clinton, you had such a hemorrhaging of genuine patriotic Christians in the military that said, I'm out. Not realizing all those spots under Obama were going to get filled with political appointments. So your top level in the military are duds.
Yeah.
But as you work your way down, you have patriots. So we don't know how deep the cancer is on the surface of the tissue that you can go down and find healthy tissue. But you know this, we have to get sophisticated on this. Trump has got to deconstruct the administrative state. When you hear that language, it means he's got to cut the top 10% of the sickness out of the three-letter agencies, all of them, from the IRS to the DHS to the CIA to the FBI. All the three-letter agencies have got to have a slicing out of this sickness that is there if America's going to survive. That's when we call it deconstructing the administrative state. We have to do it. These guys are not elected. They're bureaucrats, and they will outlast any president.
Add one more four-letter agency, CISA.
What's that?
Yeah.
CISA. That's the cyber stuff. They do things like in events and attack me. Going, to not listen to anything in the cyber world.
That's right.
The biggest threat to our country, even Adam Schiff and Chris Krebs, who was in CISA, he's the one that said it was the best election.
Election ever.
Best election ever. Most secure election ever.
That was it.
3 months later, he said on Morning Joe, he said, what's the biggest threat to your country? He said a cyber attack, but bar none, a cyber attack by China right down to the local levels, the local elections. I'm going, so you're saying this 3 months after the best election in history?
Yeah, the most secure.
CISA monitors. I don't even know. It's But they monitor. They're the ones that are supposed to protect our country, you know, for all this cyber. And then you got another division of that is internet security and all this. Well, I thought our elections, our machines weren't online, you know. So you have all these, but there's these corruption, and you know, I've had to deal with the FBI taking my phone.
Well, but let's talk about
the FBI, and then, you know, they still have my phone, Gene.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But they don't have your Hardee's biscuit.
That's right.
Yeah, so, but Mike, let's talk about what happened with you. I mean, you have been targeted. Now, there's a lot of small businessmen, because this has been an attack not just on the young people that are trying to get up and have enough money to buy a house, to qualify for a loan. That's one. But small business, you've been able to weather the storm, but you've still taken the hit. How many small businesses have been shut down? That's a statistic I'd like to see, because they can't survive. It's crazy. And the wealth, the system for paying the minimum wage is up there. Everything is so much more expensive.
Well, and the biggest thing too that people don't see, it's not just what you pay the high price of the gas at the gas pumps. Now remember, when they came into power, they didn't. If I'd have been their market, said, "Don't do anything stupid to ruin the country. Let's not ruin the country yet. Let's teach them socialism is good." They shut down the pipeline and opened the border
on first day.
On the first day. Now the pipeline. Now think of this. I tell people this. People perceive, okay, well, gas is $3 to $5 a gallon or $3.50 a gallon. It's not just what you're putting in your car. Everything, shipping costs to ship my pillow right now is almost 2.5 times what it was 3.5 years ago. And who pays for that? Your groceries, all the groceries, they're going up. It's shipping, and shipping.
Yeah, and that's affecting everything. And so then we it all comes back to Lance. We can't sit back. Now, I think I've already heard from some people the concern about that we're just going to sit back here and watch what happens. You know, we're pretty much Trump's got it going in. We can't. That is the absolute worst mistake we can ever make.
That's right.
We can't sit back. We've got to keep pushing. Paper ballots, election integrity, all that, LindellPlan.com, all those things that are going to help make sure our elections are secure.
Right.
We learn, if anything, we should remember what happened with our red wave in 2022 and how that got caught. But a lot of people just flat out didn't go vote because they feel like their vote doesn't count, which is bizarre to me that we're still dealing with that. And I'm talking about Christians. I'm not people that self-identify as evangelicals. 40 million of them aren't going out and voting. And that's unacceptable.
You bring up a great point, because you know what I heard after this assassination attempt? I've heard it from at least 10 different people have brought this to me, and a couple of them strangers I'm working, hey, right now he's got it. Even Bill Maher said it's over now, right? So he should just go hide out Mar-a-Lago, hang out there, be safe until the election. Well, are you kidding? I mean, this is what they even would want,
That's right.
That's what they would want. He's going to get out there. You think he's doing a rally in 2 days or 3 days, I mean, he's our leader. Everyone's got to not just get complacent and say, okay, well, he's got it, boy. He's you got to get your neighbors out. You got to get their neighbors out.
Right, so
we get one shot at this.
Here's the crazy thing. You got Charlie Kirk. You had her earlier today.
Yeah.
It's guys like us. You, me, Mike, Charlie, we're actually citizens, that are moving and doing the grunt work of doing what we can do to save America. You got the RNC, and you got these big budget organizations with $80 million, $100 million budgets, and you realize, why aren't they doing this get out the vote? So, for instance, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to fund this. I have an app now called AsOneAmerica.com. AsOneAmerica.com.
Yeah.
We actually can now identify the Christians that might not vote that are near your house.
Right.
And so you could find out who they are. You could give them a call. You could write to them. You could go, hey, knock on the door and go for coffee. This is what you can do, because we're doing everything we can do, and our lives are threatened all the time. You go knock on the door. You just be normal. I mean, this used to be called evangelism. Go, because we'll give you the name and the phone number of a Christian or low-propensity conservative voter who just needs to have encouragement. The left is a machine on this. They've got their armies going through the campuses, the rest homes, legitimately or illegitimately, getting all those votes. Our people got to get off our butts. There's the app, AsOneAmerica.com, and it gives you the access to your neighbors. You don't even have to go out to Wisconsin and join me on a tour. Just do it in your own neighborhood.
Well, and we must take advantage. We've talked a lot about ballot harvesting and how that was misused in the previous election. While we're doing this that Mike is talking about, you have family members. Make sure you take care. It's legal. As long as it's legal, we must take advantage of that. No matter who you're voting for, go get your Aunt May or whoever that's in the nursing home and get their ballot. Help them fill it out and take it in. Don't do anything illegal, but do it. We need to take advantage of that.
Start with right now, like in Florida, you can even request other people's ballot. I mean, I want everybody to request that ballot, not open it, just request it.
So wait a minute, you're saying I can request somebody else's ballot?
Yeah, in different states, you can actually request their ballot. You can actually request their ballot.
But isn't that
that's crazy too? But
no, wait. I can request Gene's ballot.
Well, I don't know about that. There's certain states you can do that, and it's upwards at your family members. It's very each state. We had to look at each state. It's very restricted because we had to find out there's parameters in every state, but we had to find out if you request your ballot, would you have to vote mail-in? You know what I mean? But you don't. 100% you can go vote day up, which is what we encourage, and you get in there. If you say you voted, here's my ballot. You also have states, this came up too, where like Missouri just changed their law and said everyone can request a ballot now. Before you had to do it only if you had a reason. You had to have a reason why you needed an absentee ballot, right? Now, there's no reason. Now they're going to sprinkle the troops, right? Everybody can request one. But then you have states where...
How can we relax after the last election?
No, we can't.
You can't. You've got to get engaged. Because they're changing everything, and we've got to take advantage of this. They've taken some states, they just put ballots out there. Everybody gets a ballot. They mail it out. Now, we have other people, too, where you can report this to us at Lindell Plan, where what if you didn't get that ballot? You know, I'll give an example. In Washington State, okay, this is the 2020 election. This is a Democrat, okay, went around with my team. She went around to all the homeless shelters and stuff, and she requests from the state of Washington State, they get all their ballots for them, to get their ballots so they could vote. You know, they're in these shelters. And addiction shelters, too. So here, the election comes and goes, and she's so upset because the ballots never came. She gets her, well, where are the ballots? They never came. Well, you know what we did, right? So we went and checked and seen if they had voted. They all had voted. All the shelters, they had voted. This is why it's so important. See, I've learned from all the stuff we went through, all these deviations. I could sit and tell you, each state's a little different. We had 2 states that experimented with texting in your vote. And, you know, your secure text. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, you know... And I mean, didn't Apple tell us nobody can get our inside them? You know, there it is. But now you think of this. So what we did, we took all that and come up with this best thing is to get your ballot, get it in your possession, so you pull it off the dirty voter rolls. And if you don't get it, if they didn't send it to you, we want to know that too. These are all things that are going to happen. Everybody can understand identity theft. When you hear in your own county that, did you hear about Joe down at the end of the block? And you're going, you know, everybody's got to get involved. Like you say, you know, your neighborhoods everywhere and say, did you hear about Joe? He went in to vote. And they said he didn't vote. He had his ballot. And it's a whole different thing. They can't let that go. Everybody couldn't wrap themselves around machines and whatever, and they didn't want to believe it. They didn't want to believe that our elections are controlled by computers, and they're going, you just don't want to believe that, right?
No.
But then the danger is, Mike, when we do believe it, then to your point, then a whole lot of our tribe goes,
no,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So why should I vote at all?
No, that's not true.
What do we say to them?
Because what you say to them is, no, we've got all these things in place. We have 250 counties that are going to be paper. Okay, all these deviations you're going to see that you've seen in 2020. They're going to be so pronounced, but we're going to have things we didn't have. I'm only touching the tip of the iceberg, but we're deputizing everyone to get their ballot. And when you get there and you say, everybody can understand that. Can you imagine all 50 states, all 3,143 counties, and you have examples anywhere from 10 to 500 or 1,000 of people that went to vote in your county, and they said you already voted. Everybody can wrap their head around that, and maybe the whole country around that to be able to do that. It's a marketing thing. Now think if Donald Trump, if they steal the election, Okay, and it's not too big to rig. Then you have all this identity theft. It has to be looked into. It can't be overlooked. And you got it. And then if Donald Trump wins, if he wins or overrides the algorithms, he has said, I'm going to same day voting, paper ballots. But I told him, I said, you do that. It sounds really easy. Well, it's about but everyone's got to agree out there. Everyone's got to agree. You got to have the general population. If they knew there was identity theft in every one of them counties, doesn't even matter how it happened. You're going to
make a better argument.
It's a big argument. It's a very big argument.
And like I have family in Atlanta that in 22 got like 6 ballots to their house.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
They're like, oh, but they keep coming.
Yeah.
And there are only 2 of them living there. So I mean, it's we have our work cut out for us.
Yeah, but you know what? We're 3.5 years ahead of. If 2020, Gene, here's where we all started winning.
Yeah.
If they hadn't overrun those algorithms because of our great president, everybody getting out to vote, which everybody's got this time even more than any time in history, it overran this what I call it a skim. And if it hadn't happened, if they hadn't predicted wrong the evil, okay. Yeah. If they hadn't predicted wrong, we would have all went to bed at 2 a.m. All the states would have been turned in. Biden would have won. We'd all sat and we, you know what? We
shut it down.
We took God, but we would have thought we'd have said, well, they took God out of our. We took God, turned our back on God. We're the minority. Yeah. Everybody has turned liberal. They like the transvestites and all this other garbage, right? I mean, no, that's what we would have thought. But you know what? We're not the minority.
No,
we were 70 to 80 to 90% of our country wants to live the American dream while we're here, and to have before we go to heaven, to live joyful lives, and that's it. So we started winning that day. November 4th of 2020 is the day we started winning.
So you got to vote, because even if you believe the machines are rigging it, you make it hard for them to win, and it exposes the anomalies. And
100%. You got to vote.
It helps put pressure on the exposure.
It's like if it puts pressure, we have to expose. We get one shot at this. I've tried. I would have loved it to get rid of all the machines, but you know what? It's this next election that's going to get rid of them. The 2024. That's going to be the final. I've been fighting for 3.5 years. People, hundreds of thousands of people. We've canvassed, and it matches up with what our things say. Right. Everything matches up. Things you can't explain. The one thing I've always brought it up, and I brought it up before. Think of the gal in Georgia, Democrat. Three Democrats, and she got 0 votes in her own precinct. Yeah. I mean, come on. I always say that you should have gave her 2, and she'd have said, nobody loves you but your husband. Or give her 1, they'd be in divorce court, right? No, but they gave her 0. They had to look into it. That's a big deviation.
Yeah,
it is. The thing is, what they did is in 2020, they took the courts and they took the public and just called us all conspiracy theorists. And then even these deviations, well, that could be a 1 in a billion or 1 in a million. I compare it to the OJ trial. What they did there, they just separated each thing apart. Well, the odds of the shoes was a 1 in a trillion. The odds of the glove was a 1 in a billion. Well, you combine them together, and he did it. Okay, and this is what we need to have. These
all right, let me. I want to make sure we want to get to this. There's some other good news that I want to talk about, and that's we're seeing the younger generation come up. Now, I have noticed here an increasing number of a younger, as in, I would say 30s and under. 30s and under people coming here. In fact, I want to show you this interview with Brylan Hollihan. Now, this kid started at 11 years old. He couldn't get a social media account, so he did an email list and was writing emails about what's going on in politics. This guy's amazing. I want you to watch Brylan Hollihan. This will encourage you, Grandma, Granddad, Mom, and Dad. This is the next generation coming up. This is why we have faith that we're seeing good things happen. Watch. Well, it's encouraging when you see politics happening and you see the next generation. With me right now is Brylan Hollihan.
Gene,
good to see you again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, let's talk about, I'm seeing you all over the news, man. I feel like, hey, that's my boy right there. He's doing good. Let's talk about what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your recent appointment.
Yes, so I'm the chairman of the RNC Youth Advisory Council. I'm here in Milwaukee this week getting Gen Z engaged and trying to give my fellow first-time voters a front row seat to democracy in action. So we're making history here on multiple counts accounts in Milwaukee, and one of those historic accounts is actually bringing influencers and social media creators to this convention. We've got about 100 of them that have a suite in the convention hall, that have access to the floor. They get to go around, interact with not only President Trump, but the delegates, to film content, to get our message out to Gen Z voters that obviously we need to win in November. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about how are you going to do that? I mean, you got the influencers. That's a great start. Is that going to be what pulls people in? Is it really just getting content out there?
So I said in a conversation very frankly last year in January with the previous RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, I sat down in her office in January in D.C. and said, Madam Chairwoman, we have a messaging problem. Our message is great. We have a winning message, but we do not know how to get out our message.
Right.
And so we've got to figure out how to do that. So this is the way that we're going to attempt to get out our message now, through social media, embracing these conservative influencers that have millions and millions of followers across social media platforms. We have almost 20 million followers in that creator suite this week. That's 20 million more young voters that can hear this message this week. Probably they don't even know a convention's going on. And so this is showing them it's not some boring fest. This is actually momentum high. It's incredible. So that's the first thing I said. And the second thing I said is, Madam Chairwoman, the days of being able to take out an ad in the Sunday paper to get our message out are over. We've got to modernize. We have to revamp the party. And that's what we're doing this week, and it's pretty cool. And so this week's big for messaging. I'm actually flying back to Alabama on Saturday to give a speech at Rock the South, this country music festival, and we're going to speak there in front of 35,000 young people that are there to hear the country music superstars. I'm going to come on the stage, speak for 2 minutes, and have a voter registration table to get them registered to vote. So we're giving the message, then we're doing the grassroots part to mobilize them to actually make sure they vote. So it's pretty cool. It's a big week.
So what are you hearing from Gen Zers? I mean, what are they saying about everything going on?
Constantly hearing that there's not a lot of hope in the country. Yeah. Constantly hearing that they do not believe that we're going to be able to grow up in a free America. I mean, look, we've seen what's happened with President Trump in the past few months. We saw that he's such a threat to them that first they tried to impeach him, then they tried to throw him in jail, they tried to kick him off the ballot, and when all of that failed, Gene, they tried to kill him on Saturday. My generation sees through that. They see that this man's a political outsider, and he's the true man that actually made my generation great. Make America Great Again isn't just a slogan, it's the bumper sticker of life that we want. Yeah. We want to live that life, and so we want that back. I mean, we really, really saw with Joe Biden and big government how bad that is for my generation. Big government shut my generation out of schools for a year and a half. Big government told my generation that we were evil, horrible people if we invited grandma over to Thanksgiving dinner. Big government told my generation we had to strap a diaper to our face anytime we went outside, but you could pull it up to eat, remember, Gene? So they really, really turned us off. They radicalized my generation. We're seeing a New York Times poll just last week have President Trump winning by 8 points with the youth vote. That hasn't happened since 2003.
Amazing. So it's staggering.
Yeah, it is.
Staggering.
Absolutely.
All right. So what about, I got moms and grandmas watching
yes.
too, and they're going, how do I reach my grandkid or my kid who's, has no clue of what's going on, doesn't want to get involved.
Yeah.
They're hearing you and they're going, I want my son or daughter to be like that. How do they reach them? Give them some ideas of how they reach them.
I have the perfect answer for that. So I constantly hear that when I give campus speeches over the past few months. I have young people come up, but also their parents and grandparents, and say, listen, we're lost. We do not have hope in the future. And I actually wrote a book just for this reason. It debuted last Tuesday at #2 on the Amazon bestsellers list. It's called One Generation Away. And I wrote it at the age of 17, published at the age of 18. Right. And the whole book's message is to get my message out to my peers, to get them involved in politics, but also for parents out there. Parents who see the indoctrination that's going on in our classrooms and want to push back against that, but don't really know where to start. The book's a great start for them. It's also for grandparents. Grandparents that look out at the country that do not recognize this America as the same America that they grew up in. Gene, this is the book for them, and we're so excited. So signed copies are available at brylandbook.com. Your audience can get the exclusive on that, and we just want to make sure that we're getting the message out, especially before this election. The stakes could be higher, you know that, and we're trying to make sure that everybody has that message.
Yeah, it's excellent, Bryland. Thank you for
having me. I appreciate it. Be safe this week.
Yeah, Bryland Hollihan. I mean, what isn't that encouraging when you see the younger generation coming up? These are smart kids that are coming up, and he's just one. And I know you want to enjoy that. All right, with me now, we found her wandering the halls. Security brought her in. Kari Lake. Kari, thank you for being here.
Good to be back.
It's been a while. Kari, you've been busy. How's your campaign going?
It's going great. Our poll numbers are going up. It's a tight race. The good news is nobody knows my opponent. And as we start to let people know a little bit more about who he is and what he's really voted for, I think he's kind of hit his high water mark. So we're starting to see my poll numbers go up. I've got the benefit of having pretty much 100% name ID in Arizona, and that's very helpful in politics.
Right.
And as we start to tell people that this Ruben Gallego guy is open borders. He's voted against the wall, calls the wall dumb and stupid, said he would never, ever, ever support it. He's voted to
Why would they not
sanctuary city.
Why would they not support it, Kari?
Because they need a constant flow of people coming in. I think they want to destabilize our country. And you know who it's hurting the most? It's hurting middle class and working class people.
That's right.
12 million people coming into our country. They have to live somewhere, right?
Sure.
The government's putting them up in some housing, and then they're competing for housing with Americans, and that's why we're seeing rent prices shoot up. He's voted for all of the policies that have caused inflation to skyrocket, that have caused our, the energy independence to go away now. He's voted for the Iran deal. This guy, he just recently last week voted against the SAVE Act, which would have protected us from having people who poured in here illegally from voting in this next election, and he voted against that.
All right, so let's talk about the election coming up here.
And he wants to defund the police, which to me is, as a mother, is the worst, because I want my community and neighborhood to be straight.
Right. All right, so let's talk about the election.
Safe.
I mean, Arizona has continually had suspect elections ever since 2020, 22. We had crazy stuff happening, with that election going on. Are we going to see, you think things are better coming in? Is Maricopa going to be right this time?
Well, I will tell you this. There's a lot of lawsuits out there, and some very powerful lawsuits. Just today, America First Legal filed a lawsuit basically threatening the 15 counties in Arizona to clean up and get rid of anybody who's illegal off of their voter rolls so they can't vote. And that's a move in the right direction. My case is still moving forward, and all we're asking for now, our original election case, is at the Arizona Supreme Court. And what we're really asking from that is that the Arizona Supreme Court will force the election officials to just follow the laws on the book. We're not asking for an unlevel playing field. We don't want any favoritism. We want them to follow the law. We have the AZ GOP involved in lawsuits and others across the country. I don't know which one's going to burst open the dam. I have hope that one of them will.
Right.
But I will say this, just informing people of how they're messing with our elections, it makes it harder to do. Yeah. If you know what they're doing, and then we know what to look for.
Everybody's watching.
Everybody's watching. And I would say to anybody who's thinking about taking part in election fraud or crimes, it's much better to not do that, because you don't want to have to face the consequences when we finally do get law and order back in this country.
All right, J.D. Vance, pick for VP. What do you think?
I think he's great. I really do. I mean, I kind of stayed out of it and said I'm not going to throw my opinion in. I want President Trump to choose who he wants. And when in May, I think it was back in May, when I was thinking about running, I was seriously considering running for Senate, which I'm running for now. He's one of the first senators that I sat down with in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
I wanted to know what it's like, because he's a MAGA senator. He's a first term. He's got a family. He's a younger guy. And I really enjoyed my time with him. I think he's really intelligent. He's been willing to stand up and take votes that might not make everybody happy in the swamp, but he's been willing to stand up and do the right thing. And he's loyal to President Trump. I know some things were said in the past, but I think he's woken up. I want people to know, if you didn't like President Trump in the past, I get that, because the media's been doing an 8-year smear campaign on him.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to see through and see the truth. So when people now are waking up and saying, oh, we had people on the stage a couple nights ago saying, I used to not like him because I believed what was said about him. And I woke up to that, and now I realize he's out there to do good for our country. So when people wake up and realize they've been lied to by the media, and now they realize, wow, we've got a gem on our hands with President Trump, I welcome him in.
So tonight he's going to speak, his first time to speak here to address the convention since he's been named as Trump's pick. What is it that he needs to do? I want to hear from you. What is it that he needs to do tonight to solidify his place?
I really hope he just tells his personal story. It's fascinating because, let's face it, outside of Ohio, maybe a lot of people across the country, they're busy working and not paying attention to all of the minutiae in politics. So I hope he tells his story. He's a Marine. He came from very humble beginnings, really almost impoverished beginnings. He wrote an incredible story that talks about some of the difficulties that people face when they come from a community where drug addiction is very high, where there's a lot of despair, and to pull yourself up and have success the way that we've seen J.D. Vance have success is quite remarkable. He's going to be very relatable, I think, to young families, to the Rust Belt, to the working class folks out there. And I hope he tells his personal story and then lets people know maybe about some of the votes he's taken and some of the things he's done in the Senate to show that he has been a fighter for the people, that he is truly America first. I got a chance to campaigned with him a few months back when I was campaigning in Ohio to help Bernie Moreno out right before the primary, and I spent a couple days with J.D. Vance on the campaign trail. He connects very well with people. He speaks in a way that everybody can understand what's at issue. He understands the issues, and he's got solutions for them.
That's right.
So I really enjoy him. I think he's going to be great.
All right.